Good morning. I thought today I'd look at the Billy Joel section of my collection. Um, Billy Joel's someone I've liked since I was a little kid. Hearing him on the radio when I was a kid, his songs always appealed to me. I'd say there was at one stage that a Billy Joel song was probably one of my favorite songs when I was a little kid. I'll talk about that when I get to it. But these are all secondhand except for 52nd Street, which I got new a few years ago. I ordered on Amazon. The rest of them are from secondhand stores. I can remember buying this one just recently, 50 cents, 50 cents. Uh, these two I can't remember, but they would have been between 50 cents to $2. This one I bought before the other ones, and this one was from an actual secondhand music store as opposed to a secondhand, charity store. This was $9.99. Um, it's the old double CD, where they actually have two CDs stuck together from the 90s. So just talking a little bit about them. So Billy Joel, Piano Man. This is his second album. His first album was Cold Spring Harbor, which is an album that didn't do well apparently, and what I've heard of it, I don't particularly like. I think there's one relatively famous single on it. Was it She's Got Away? But Piano Man, the album. Looking at the track listing, Piano Man obviously is the big song there. Ballad of Billy the Kid and Captain Jack might also be known to some people. Piano Man, the song, I could say if I never heard that song again in my life, I would be okay. Um, it is one of those songs that is just so ubiquitous and overplayed, and just that it gets to the point where you don't need to hear it again. I remember we used to sing it at school, like when you're a little kid, primary school, elementary school, Americans would call it. You used to sing songs in classes, like I don't know, kids' songs or I don't know, whatever songs they got you to sing. I remember one of the songs they got us to sing was Piano Man. We also used to sing Morning Is Broken by Cat Stevens, which I can't imagine what a room full of 7-year-olds singing that song would have sounded like. But anyway, this is in very good condition. I remember when I first bought it being surprised because it is an original uh, issuing of the set. It's not a reissue, as far as I can see. I might be wrong, but nothing on it tells me. And the other reason why I think it's an original issuing from whenever they first issued it. I don't know when they first issued it, but anyway, it's you can see from the booklet, it only has that very early CD style of track listing, a whole page of CD care instructions, and then very minor liner notes. So I'm pretty sure this was from the early days of CD, but it is in very good condition. The booklet's in good condition. The CD's in almost unplayed condition. And the other reason why I think it's very old is because of the sticker here. Nice price by Sony Music. You wouldn't have seen this stuck on a CD in the last 25, 30 years, at least. Maybe even longer than that. So, picture's a bit unnerving, isn't it? But anyway, happy to have that in my collection, especially for 50 cents. In excellent condition. Next one. This one's a bit grubbier, but also I think is an original from when it was released in '83, I believe. And that is Innocent Man, maybe one of his biggest albums. You look at the track listing in almost every song, you think, An Innocent Man, know that one, Longest Time, heard that on the radio, Tell Her About It, Uptown Girl, of course, Leave a Tender Moment Alone. It was a huge record, the amount of singles released off it. And the idea with this, from what I've read, interviews, it was kind of like a tribute, or not really. The concept of it was that he was paying homage to artists that he liked as a young man, that he felt influenced him. Like, obviously, the most obvious one is, or the clearest one is Uptown Girl, which is Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. The vocal affectations he uses and the backup singers and all that. You can really hear the Frankie Valli influence, or even more than that. I'd say more than influence. The other one was Leave a Tender Moment Alone, which is not as obvious, was supposed to be a Smokey Robinson tribute or homage. The Longest Time obviously sounds very doo-wop. So I assume that's some doo-wop band that he appreciated as a young man. I don't really know much about doo-wop music, but that's quite a cool idea, I think, that you know, showing clearly who influenced you and wanting to pay tribute to them by making new music in a style reminiscent of them in a clear way. The condition of the CD is fine, but the booklet has been water damaged. You can see there it's really wavy. That look it gets after paper is dried. It's all been stuck together and ripped when someone's tried to open it again. So yeah, that's not great. But we got in the end. Like I always say, I'm not planning to sell this. So as long as the CD plays fine, I really don't mind about a little bit of damage to the booklet. I see there Liberty DeVito on the drums. He ended up suing Billy Joel in the 90s, I think, maybe late 80s, because he felt that he hadn't been paid or represented fairly in the royalties, divvying up of the royalty payments, whatever you want to call them. So as a drummer, it's a kind of an interesting thing, is that how much, I don't know how royalties percentages working when working out songwriting credits. Like I know the lyrics gets a big chunk of it. I guess the vocal melody would get a reasonable chunk. I guess it depends on the song, doesn't it? What drives the song, if there's a particular riff. But you think that there are some songs where the drums are really fundamental to the song, like something like 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by Paul Simon, or Lust for Life by Iggy Pop, or the beginning introduction of the drums in Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I'm sure there are probably lots of songs where it's not even like a super in your face drum part, but it really drives the song in ways that we can't even really notice as listeners. And if you change the drum part, that the song might not have been as good. And yeah, it's an interesting thing, because I've heard that drummers talk about that before, where they feel like they weren't fairly given credit for the popularity of a song or the formation of a song. Anyway, this one, like I said, is new. I ordered this off Amazon about 5 or 6 years ago. I ordered a big bunch of CDs together. I remember I was living overseas at the time. This is, I think, I don't think I know it's a repressing. The original album is 78, and they repressed in 98, reissued in 1998. But the reason why I got this album, is Rosalinda's Eyes. So Big Shot and Honesty and My Life are the singles, and you can find them on most greatest hits collections of his. But Rosalinda's Eyes wasn't a single, and it's not really a particularly famous song of his, but it's a song that I really, really like. It's one of my favorite Billy Joel songs, and so I bought this album primarily because of that song. It's a good album by itself. Zanzibar's a good song. 52nd Street's a good song as well. So that one's new. Stormfront from 1989. And this is from interviews I've read with Billy Joel. This is where he kind of sees his career kind of turning, declining maybe. If you look at the track listing, obviously the big song, We Didn't Start the Fire, which some people don't like because it's almost like a novelty song, just listing things off. I don't mind it, but it didn't have as many hits as previous albums maybe. During the late 70s, 80s, Billy Joel was genuinely one of the biggest music stars in the world. And maybe you get accustomed to a level of success, and then when you release something that doesn't have the same success, it can affect you in certain ways. I think this is an excellent album. I go to extremes. In particular, one of my favorite Billy Joel songs, Down Next to Alexa's a good song. Stormfront's a good song. Leningrad's a good song. It sounds of its time, sounds very 1989. It has a 1989 feel to it, which isn't surprising because that's when it was written. Condition is pretty good. This is an original issuing, 1989. It's not a repressing. Got the lyrics, some liner notes. Well, Liberty DeVito still playing on this one. Okay, so it hadn't been sued yet. Lenny Pickett, I've heard of that name before. Yeah, so Stormfront. And that leaves us with the two greatest hits collections. This one I just picked up because it was there, and it was, like I said, it would have been between 50 cents and $2, probably 50 cents to be honest. This is volume 3. So this is volume 1 and 2, and this is volume 3. And this takes more from his late 80s Stormfront, River of Dreams. And it has 2 new songs, I believe. To Make You Feel Love is a new song, and was it Hey Girl? I'm not exactly sure. I don't know when this was issued either, when this was released. It's getting caught on that thing there. It's a pain in the ass, isn't it? Oh, there we go. It might actually say here 97 it was released. Okay, Light as a Breeze is a Leonard Cohen song. So maybe it's a newly released song, but it's not a new written song. To Make You Feel Love's a Bob Dylan, and Hey Girl is, I think, C King would be Carole King. Jay Goffin, don't know who that is. Okay, so they're new songs that covers. I didn't know that. But they are new as in people hadn't heard them before. But that follows because, which we'll talk about in a moment, he obviously had kind of given up writing pop music after River of Dreams. And so it would make sense that he would record covers as opposed to new original songs. What is that? So yeah, that's all right. I guess, if you want to hear some new stuff and have a collection of his later career stuff. But this is the one, this was the first Billy Joel thing I ever bought because this is a pretty solid collection of his singles from 71 through to, I think, 85. So you see early career, Piano Man, Captain Jack, Entertainer, Say Goodbye to Hollywood. Then we get to, I think, New York State of Mind was on Turnstile, I believe, which is where I feel his career kind of started taking off. Well, not, as in not taking off, as in that's where I felt his music starts in a way, being written in a way that I really like. Pretty sure it was Turnstiles, 1976. Yes, New York State of Mind. The Stranger, one of my favorite Billy Joel songs. Scenes from Italian Restaurant, great song. Just the Way You Are. Moving Out, Only Good Die Young. Only Good Die Young is a great song. She's Always a Woman. City 2 is in My Life, Big Shot, Honestly. Now we go down to here, Allentown. Allentown's a great song. That was from, I think, Nylon Curtain. Was it from Nylon Curtain? Which was 82. There was a song that was more, yeah, it is Nylon Curtain. And Goodnight Saigon as well. Then Innocent Man tracks. Then these two here, You're Only Human and The Night Is Still Young, they were written specifically for the greatest hits. So I think there was a thing they used to do when artists released greatest hits collections, they would throw in 1 or 2 new songs to help sell it, because so if the fans already had all the CDs that made up the greatest hits, they wouldn't want to buy the greatest hits, but they would. Okay, this is four bonus songs now available on LP. Shite. So this is that kind of, yeah, this is how double albums used to be produced. Kind of two bulky CDs stuck together, as opposed to the flip jewel case which we have now. Condition's pretty good. So if it says Night is Still Young, we didn't Second Win, You're Only Human. What are the other two ones? Okay, well, they're looking through it. Okay, but apparently there are four. But the song that I most like, and the song that kind of, I was saying that when I was a kid, maybe a Billy Joel song was my favorite, is that song, the bonus song, song 13 on volume 2, You're Only Human, Second Win. I loved that song when I was a kid. And when I play it now, I still like it. It's got a really bouncy, upbeat feel. He wrote it apparently for kids or teenagers who felt depressed, who were contemplating, taking their own lives. He went through a bad patch when he was young. He suffered from depression, and I think he still has throughout his adult life, but particularly bad. And I think he attempted to take his own life when he was a young man. And he spent some time in a psychiatric ward or something like that. I don't know the full ins and outs, but he wrote that song with that in mind. And it's just, I don't know, I like everything about the song. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite Billy Joel song as I've got old, but it would definitely be in the list, the top 10. I like the lyrics. I like the music, everything about it. It's the video has got, if you ever see the video, a young Adam Savage. If you've watched Mythbusters, Adam from that, he is in the Billy Joel You're Only Human video from 1985-86 as a young man. So look out for that. So that's my collection. Now, of course, subsequently, he's basically retired from writing new music. He still performs. He performed here in New Zealand a couple of months ago in December 2022. Played a huge stadium show. I didn't go. Tickets were really expensive. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of stadium shows, especially of these kind of legacy acts, because it's just, people are just wandering around. The sound is just, you're miles away from the stage. I don't know, indoor arena, like big arenas indoors, that's about my limit. I don't think I would pay to go to a stadium show, because it just doesn't seem worth it for me. But after River of Dreams in 1994, he decided he didn't want to write new music. And I've read lots of different things, but basically the consensus is, and from putting his interviews together and the things he says, sometimes he says slightly different things, but it sounds like I talked about with Stormfront, but more so with River of Dreams. He felt, he wrote what he thought was really good music, but it wasn't getting the same success as he had previously. And B, he felt he had achieved everything he wanted to achieve in terms of songwriting. He'd knocked it out of the park, hadn't he? He'd hit after hit after hit. And what more could he do? He didn't, I assume he didn't want to be kind of to fade away his music, as so often happens with these bands that were big in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. When they're releasing new music now, it's not selling anywhere near the level. And when people go to the concerts, they don't want to hear the new music. They want to hear the classics. The Rolling Stones, if they release a new album, which I think they are planning to do soon, sans Charlie Watts and whoever else isn't in that band anymore. People aren't going there to hear the new CD, the new album. They're going there to hear Paint It Black and whatever else, Start Me Up, or the hits. The hits is my point. And most of those bands, they accept that. You know, Billy Joel is touring a lot. It's not as though he's sitting at home. He tours. He does. I think there's those residencies at Madison Square Garden where he plays a month-long show of shows. He must be bringing in tens and tens of millions of dollars from touring, and then the residual royalties and publishing rights from his music must be worth God knows how much. So it's not as though he can't support himself, but it's just interesting that he just thought, well, yep, that's it. I'm done. I've done all I can. If I can't if I can't continue to be making number one albums and single after single, then I don't want to do it anymore. Which you think, well, Jesus, the amount of amazing music he's released, doesn't he have? Imagine how many songs he still has in him. But speaking of River of Dreams, I actually saw River of Dreams for sale for $2 in a secondhand shop, and I didn't buy it, and I don't know why. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to buy things, and I pass things up, and then I'm like a week later, I'm like, why didn't I? I have no idea why I didn't buy that. I'm actively trying to fill out whole Billy Joel discography, and I avoided buying a CD of his for $2. What an idiot I am. But anyway, I'm sure I'll come across it again another time. So this has been a long one, but I think Billy Joel deserves a long video. He will go down as one of the greatest songwriters of pop music of the 20th century, I believe. Certainly one of the biggest sellers. And yeah, just so many great songs. Let's see if I can get the rest of his albums over the next few years. I'm always on the lookout for them. You're usually coming across greatest hits collections. It's hard to find the actual albums themselves, but you do from time to time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you later.